Yakuza notwithstanding, because it does a good job. It's kind of weird how this genre doesn't work as well in 3D. There have been 3D beat 'em ups that have come out, which and that okay. Because here's the thing: as much as I love the genre, it can have a tendency to get repetitive if the game isn't done right. But I feel that's exacerbated even more when it's in 3D. Like it gets really boring really fast. There was this one game, I forgot the name of it. Platinum released it. Anarchy Reigns, I believe it was.
Anarchy Reigns, which, by the way, that has an amazing soundtrack to it as well, but that's pretty much the only good thing about it, really. That and having Bayonetta as a guest character as well. Yeah. So.
But that game, even though it's 3D, it kind of highlights like, okay, this is a brawler, beat 'em up, whatever, done wrong. It just gets really, really boring, really, really fast, right? So it's just kind of interesting how like the genre doesn't work very well in 3D. And also another little bit of a side I was thinking about since we're talking about beat 'em ups, right? I am so glad, this is going to sound weird. I am so glad it took this long for Streets of Rage 4 to come out, because had that game come out when it was supposed to, in the late 90s or whatever, it would have been some 3D schlock. Totally. I totally, but nowadays, obviously, because, back in the day, we went from 2D and then immediately jumped to 3D. And then we kind of left 2D behind for a long time, right? And it wasn't until last generation where we started appreciating 2D again, right? So I'm very glad it took that long, because Streets of Rage would have just not been right if they kept going, with the sequels and all that,
Yeah, because Streets of Rage 4 was rumored, I know, back in for Saturn and for Dreamcast, I believe, as well. So yeah, it absolutely would have been like a 3D game, and who knows, if it would have worked well, because I mean, there are very few 3D beat 'em up games that work well, with Yakuza, as we mentioned, Die Hard Arcade, as we mentioned as well. But yeah, it is generally at least from my experience anyway, and this might be a little bit of bias because I'm kind of a 2D purist at heart anyway. But I do think that this genre does work the best in 2D, just like with fighting games as well. I'm very much in that mindset. So yeah,
I had to look at it because I remember I was like, yo, there was this one game that actually was supposed to be Streets of Rage 4, and they changed it. Fighting Force for the PlayStation.
That's right. Yeah, Fighting Force.
Yeah, it came out for other platforms too, but yeah, that game. That's what Streets of Rage 4 would have been. And, I remember playing Fighting Force. It was, it was not that.
You didn't like Ire Guys?
Also, and I remember Bouncer. You could consider that was not another good. That game was not good either.
It tried, but yeah, it failed. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, the beat 'em up genre. I may offend some people with this next comment. The beat 'em up genre is like the Sonic franchise. It doesn't work in 3D. I'm sorry.
Snap.
Well,
tweet at him at Romudeath. So.
At Romudeath. Yeah, send all the hate mail my way. I've been getting plenty of that this week for some of the things I've said on Twitter. Anyway, so yeah, again, the simplicity of the combat, like we talked about, that's a good thing. But at the same time, you don't want the game to be too simple. It needs to be simple enough where you can enjoy it, but not simple enough where you just zone the fuck out. And of course, the stages and the way they're laid out and the bosses, that's something else that's an important factor as well. And I forgot who did this video, but it was a great point where another aspect of beat 'em ups. As a matter of fact, you know who it was? It was John Linneman from Eurogamer, right? He did an excellent review of Streets of Rage 4, and he said one of the components of beat 'em ups, and he's totally right about this, the impact of the hits, right? You're doing the same hit and animation over and over and over and over again, so it has to feel satisfied. Not only does it have to feel good when you punch, the reaction of the enemy has to feel good too, right? And if you notice, every good beat 'em up, the enemies always shake, bam, when you hit them, So if you're doing that same action thousands of times, it needs to be just as satisfying the first time you do it as the millionth time you do it, And the best beat 'em ups always had that. It's like, whatever you're doing to the enemy, you see a visible reaction to them, and that's always a lot of fun, man.